Hi guys, this is a video about a farm that serves two purposes, primarily to farm Edmund Vanguard reputation, but also as a viable war supply farm. To begin with, let's go over the stuff that you should know before you start. The quest is called Auspicious Beginnings, which is the first quest in Hearts of the North. The weapons you're going to need for this is a Kieran's bow, which you get from Gwen, and a vampiric 15 damage energy -5 defense bow. These mods can be switched out, for example, for Sundering or 1550, but those are the ideal ones. You're also going to need a birthday cupcake or a green rock candy every time you do it, and in order to get to Hearts of the North, you need to beat Warren Kryta. The rewards you're going to get for each time you do it are 1,000 gold, 1250 Vanguard rep, 5 war supplies, and it takes about 4 minutes. Okay, to start the quest, equip the Kieran's bow you get from Gwen, talk to the scrying pool, and say, "Show me the story of the arrowhead." Okay, once you're inside the mission, target the White Mantle Zealot and use your cupcake or green rock. I forget to use my cupcake until right before the enemies start attacking you. However, you should use it as soon as you enter the mission, because it's going to last 10 minutes while the mission should not last more than 5 or 6, even in a worst case scenario. Now, when you see Thackeray say, "Definitely not good, something, something, something," that is when the enemies are going to start attacking you. So when you see that, switch to your vampiric bow, and then use Kieran's sniper shot on the Zealot, because Miku is always going to target the Zealot with Mark of Death first. Now, as for dispatching of the two enforcers that spawn with the Zealot, try to target the one that Miku's targeting so that you can kill them fastest. Also, try to run away from them so that they target Miku, so that way you don't get blinded or knocked down, as I did there. Now, once the enforcers are down, equip Kieran's bow so that you don't lose health from the vampiric mod, and start running. Now, while running, there are going to be 3 things that are dangerous to you: cripple, hex snares, and knockdowns. Now, the way to deal with hexes is you use Nature's Blessing, which will remove 1 hex each second for 10 seconds. However, it does have a 20-second recharge, so you want to try to have it be recharged every time you're going into a battle with things that might slow you down with hexes. Now, as for cripple, you have Relentless Assault, which is the bow attack that also poisons. It removes 3 conditions, and it has a 10-second recharge. The problem with it is that if there are 2 things that cripple you in the same group, you can remove cripple from one of them, but then the other one will cripple you and your skill won't be recharged until the first one can cripple you again. So it's important that you properly time Relentless Assault if there are 2 things that can cripple you in the same group. Now, as for knockdowns, there are 2 ways to deal with them. In general, the knockdowns are going to be projectiles, stoning, and water trident. So both of those can be dodged, but water trident is kind of difficult to dodge, especially if you're running towards the enemy. So the best way to deal with them is simply to interrupt the skill using terminal velocity. Now, what you just saw there is the final group of the mission. It's a group of 3 White Mantle, and you have to kill all 3, including any of them that get rezzed, before you can complete the mission. Now, this is the hardest part of the mission because it is 3-on-1, and also the White Mantle are random spawns, so if you get bad spawns, then it can be extremely difficult. In general, you want to try and avoid taking as much damage as possible. You can do this by using the height advantage that you gain from going up the hill. This will help prevent damage from ranged enemies and from melee, because you can hit them at a longer distance. The other thing you want to do is to use your speed boost to make melee break aggro. You also want to try and use your skills as much as possible and use terminal velocity to interrupt anything that could be damaging to you. So that's about it for the farm. The rest of the video is going to be me discussing specific enemies that can cause difficulties while farming. To begin with, let's talk about things that can mess you up while running. Now, there are 3 enemies that can knock you down easily while running. That is the White Mantle Fanatic and 2 White Mantle Adherents. The Fanatic is not really dangerous because all it uses is Gale, and it's really only going to use it once. However, if you do see that it is a Fanatic and it's using Barbs or Icy Veins, try to interrupt Gale if you can. As for the Earth Magic Adherents, in order for it to knock you down with Stoning, it needs to hit you with Ebon Hawk. If you can dodge Ebon Hawk, or you can dodge Stoning, then there's nothing to worry about. Now there are 3 ways to deal with Water Trident. The first is to interrupt Water Trident. That basically solves all of your problems. The other one is to dodge Water Trident. However, if you run past the enemy and you're pretty close to it, it'll be very hard to dodge. The other is when you see that the enemy is using Water Trident, just stop moving and it won't knock you down. Next up are things that cripple. As I mentioned before, cripple is dangerous because it can be generally applied faster than it can be removed if there are multiple things that apply it. Also, 2 of the enemies that cause cripple here also cause knockdown. So to begin with the Enforcer, the Deadly Arts chain that they use begins with Dancing Daggers. So if you can interrupt Dancing Daggers, they become harmless. However, if you can't interrupt Dancing Daggers, then they will either knock you down with Entangling Asp, followed by 100 damage from Signet of Toxic Shock, or they will cripple you with Mantis Touch. Now, as for the White Mantle Scouts, they will always use Anthem of Weariness when they start the battle, so they are relatively easy to identify. Now, if they hit you with Melandru's Shot, they apply 4 conditions all at the same time, and the order of those conditions is sometimes messed up, so using Relentless Assault may not remove cripple. It's best to dodge or interrupt Melandru's Shot. Now, as for the White Mantle Zealots, they'll use your roll alone on you, which will cripple you, remove the cripple with Relentless Assault. In the time it takes to do that, they'll probably get into range and use None Shall Pass, and there's not much you can do about them. Just try to remove cripple as fast as possible and keep going. Finally, are enemies that cause snares using hexes. There are a lot of them, and you should know the names of the things that might cause snares and which skills that they use, so that you can properly use Nature's Blessing. But if you see that there's one there, or you get slowed down, just use Nature's Blessing and keep running. Now I'll discuss enemies that are dangerous when they spawn in the last group. Now you're probably thinking, I've already seen this image. Well, in order to explain why I'm showing it again, I'm going to explain what you want to do while fighting the last group. What you want to do while fighting the last group is get out as much damage as possible while only taking in, on average, 25 damage per second, because that's how much Nature's Blessing is going to be able to heal for. One of the best ways of reducing damage is to prevent melee from hitting you. That's why anything that can knock you down or cripple you or snare you is going to be dangerous, because it's going to let melee hit you more often. So for things that knock down, they are less dangerous during the fighting portion, mostly because you're not moving, so Water Trident isn't going to affect you, and you can also stay at range to stay away from Ebon Hawk. Gale is still going to be able to affect you just as much, however. So for things that cripple you, we'll start with the White Mantle Scout. The White Mantle Scout can be very easily dealt with by just using the range advantage of being up the hill. The White Mantle Enforcer and the White Mantle Zealot are the most dangerous things that you can face at this point. To deal with them, try to keep them away from you so that they can't really hurt you that much, and try to interrupt any skills that the Enforcer uses. For enemies that use Hex Snares, just use Nature's Blessing just like running. However, there is a 10-second downtime where you can be hexed, so watch out for that. Unlike running, healers can cause a problem for the fighting portion because they can elongate the battles. The best way to deal with them is to try and interrupt any skills that you can, or just spam interrupts on anything that you can't interrupt, and just try to overpower their healing ability. These last 3 enemies you should watch out for. The Seeker because he can block as well as blind, the Enforcer because he can spam interrupts, and the Sycophant because it can completely destroy your energy. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.